Chapter 25. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came, he and all his army, against Jerusalem, and he camped against it, and they built forts against it round about. So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land. Then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went by the way of the Arabah. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Then they took the king, and carried him up unto the king of Babylon to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put the eyes of Zedekiah, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in fetters, and carried him to Babylon. Now in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which was 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, even every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans, that were with the captain of the guard, broke down the walls of Jerusalem round about. And the residue of the people that were left in the city, and those that fell away to the king of Babylon, and the residue of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away captive. But the captain of the guard left of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. And the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases, and the brazen sea that were in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon. And the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the pans, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, took they away. And the fire pans, and the basins, that which was of gold in gold, and that which was of silver in silver, the captain of the guard took away. The 2 pillars, the 1 sea, and the bases, which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the brass of all these vessels was without weight. The height of the 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and a capital of brass was upon it. And the height of the capital was 3 cubits, with network and pomegranates upon the capital round about, all of brass, and like unto these had the 2nd pillar the network. And the captain of the guard took Seraiah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the 2nd priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that saw the king's face, who were found in the city, and the scribe of the captain of the host, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them, and brought them to king of Babylon, to Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them, and put them to death at Riblah, in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away captive out of his land. And as for the people that were left in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, governor. Now when all the captains of the forces, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, they came to Gedaliah to Mizpah, even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Seraiah, the son of Tanhumath, the Tephothite, and Jazaniah, son of the Maacathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not because of the servants of the Chaldeans. Dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month, that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldeans that were with him at Mizpah, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the forces arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. And it came to pass in the 37th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, in the 27th day of the month, that Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, out of prison. And he spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon. And he changed his prison garments, and he did eat bread before him continually all the days of his life. And for his allowance there was continually allowance given him of the king, every day a portion, all the days of his life. Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. Now, we'll remember in the last chapter yesterday that Nebuchadnezzar had came up and took in Jerusalem, and he had carried Jehoiachin off to Babylon and put him in prison, and he had set up Mattaniah, who he changed his name to Zedekiah, in his place. And this is where we're picking it up during this reign of Zedekiah. Verse 1, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his army, against Jerusalem, and encamped against it, and they built forts against it round about. So we'll see now in the 9th year, there's a harvest in this understanding, in this golden circle, this period of time. And the Zedekiah had rebelled against the king of Babylon. Therefore the king of Babylon now has come up to take over finally the city of Jerusalem, which he had done conquered. He had done conquered this city several years ago, and he has now come to take everything out of it. And the date is recorded exactly. It was the 10th month now, because this is the law in the lesser light, and this 10th day of the month, and even the law in the understanding of these silver circles, even of this lesser light. Nebuchadnezzar, he's the one that protects the crown. He is the king of Babylon. He has come, and all his armies now, and they have besieged Jerusalem, this place of the teachings of peace, this place where God said he would put his name. And they are all around, and they have built forts and guards, so they are there in the multitude too. So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of the king Zedekiah. And Zedekiah means the righteous of God, and the city is besieged for 2 years now. We went from the 9th year to the 11th year. 11 is disorder, and that's what we had in the beginning of the law. And that we see the disorder now in this whole thing, the disorder, how they have been disorderly against God, and God is punishing them greatly. God has even taken hold of this place and is going to punish it, just like he would a child. 3, and on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land. And this no bread is, there is no substance. There is no substance from what you get. The bread is that which comes from the law of God and being obedient to it, even the bread that sustains the life. This bread is the truth, the Word of God. And we'll see on the 9th day, because this was all for the harvest. In this day represents the smaller circle, the silver circle even. And this is the work of the lesser light. This famine, because this is what's brought the famine on, this lesser light being idolatry, that's been working its way while God is showing you, trying to expose it to you so you can understand these things. 4, then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the 2 walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went by the way of the Arabah. And we're going to find this. This was prophesied by Ezekiel, and this we're going to see this story is well documented in the book of Jeremiah. Now they've gone out between these 2 walls, witness these walls that are round about there by the king's garden. This place for the king has planted his seed, and the king, he looks for the harvest. Well, the king's garden is going to be knocked down. Now, the Chaldeans we see, and the Chaldeans are these clod breakers. They were considered the wisest of the land, and they are all around the city. Now, the king's gone out by the way of the Arabah. 5. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. So the king, he's took off. He's trying to make a break for it. He's went out by a little passageway there, a little gate between the two walls that's made just for this purpose, and he's made a break for it. But the Chaldeans take after him, and they overcome him there in the plains of Jericho. And we remember Jericho. Jericho's kind of where the whole thing started, where this whole thing got started in the prophecies of it all. See, where they went in and they took of the devoted thing there. And Achan the troubler, they found Achan the troubler there. 6. Then they took the king and carried him up to the king of Babylon, to Rivlah, and they gave judgment upon him. So they get the king. They have got Zedekiah now, and they've carried him up to the king of Babylon, this king of confusion, to Rivlah, this place, this fruitful place even. And they passed judgment on him. And 7, they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in fetters, and carried him to Babylon. So now they've slain all the sons of Zedekiah, and this is so that he can see it now. They do it right before his eyes. Then they put out the eyes of Zedekiah. So that would be the last thing that he would ever see, that he is made seedless, and he knows it. He shall not bear no fruit. This is the sign. These are the righteous now of God. And he bound him in fetters and carried him to Babylon. So they tie him up, and they carry him off to the land of confusion now. So there he can remember what his last vision was. 8, now in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. So we got now Nebuzaradan coming. He in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar. We see this would be a period of time later on now, after they've taken Zedekiah. And the date is well documented. It's the 5th month now, because there's going to be some grace through this lesser light. There's a little bit of grace shown here, because God's made an example. See, and this becomes the silver to God, that which he's caused to pass through this fire. 7th day of the month. 7, why, it's perfection in this lesser circle, even these days of this lesser light, which was the 19th year now of Nebuchadnezzar. And 19th is this harvest of the law in the greater understanding of it all. And the king of Babylon has sent Nebuzaradan, and he's the one who protects the crown now of judgment, even this one who is the protectors of the crown's son. He's the captain of the guard, and he is a servant now of the king of Babylon. And he comes of confusion, and he comes to Jerusalem, and he burns the house of God, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Even every great man's house burned he with fire. So this one comes, and he destroys now God's house with fire, and all the great houses with fire. This fire being a representation of the law of God coming in judgment. 10, and all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guard broke down the walls of Jerusalem round about. So all the armies, they're tearing Jerusalem down, all the walls round about it. They're going to expose it. 11, and the residue of the people that were left in the city, and those that fell away, that fell to the king of Babylon, and the residue of the multitude did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away captive. So everybody who was left in that period in the city at that time. When they came back, they carried away captive, and we'll find that they left just a small few among the people there. But we'll notice they broke down the walls, and we'll find it in the prophecies now where they do this to Jerusalem, and every man comes straight in before him. That means he doesn't have to go by the way of a gate. He's just going to go straight in. 12. But the captain of the guard left of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. And these are going to be the residue that's left, the poorest of the land. These, because all the mighty are being taken away, all the ones that are supposed to have understanding, see, they've been carried off to confusion. They don't have no understanding. God's taken this away, and we'll find that the prophets are going to tell us about this as well. 13. And the pillars of the brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases and the brazen sea that were in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon. So now all this stuff and these pillars that God said, you shall not raise up a pillar, that Solomon built and placed in the house of God, even these two pillars, because they're going to be witnesses now. What's going to happen to these two pillars that they've raised up? And all this, the brazen sea, that brazen sea that contained all the water now, that which represented the multitude of all the earth, that used to set on the 12 oxen, that was taken away by and set onto the pavement now. We see it's been broken up. God said, I'm going to smite this great house, and he has. And they are going to carry all of it now. All of it goes to Babylon, to the confusion. And the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the pans, and the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, took they away. So now Babylon's got all this stuff. Babylon's got all the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and everything they used, all the vessels that were used in the house of God. 15. And the fire pans, and the basins, that which was of gold and gold, that which was of silver and silver, the captain of the guard took away. So everything that belonged to God, everything that had passed through the fire, everything that had any meaning was carried away. These fire pans, these things where they offered the incense of God. See, that is what soothed the Spirit of God, because he knew men couldn't understand totally, and he was trying to bring about by a slow understanding and teaching, but they refused God, and they mocked God now, and God's anger is greatly kindled, and he has brought a great captivity now, and we'll find in the end time a great captivity now has the Lord brought upon all the earth. Even this great and marvelous work that he's worked, even these examples he's given over and over and over, made it as plain and simple as anybody could see. But see, God's done this and kept your eyes shut, your ears closed, because we're waiting for a moment when he's going to open your eyes, and you're going to realize now you've been delivered. 7. The height of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and a capital of brass was upon it. And the height of the capital was 3 cubits. The network and the pomegranates upon the capital round about all the brass. Like unto these had the second pillar with the network. And like I said, here's these two pillars. These two pillars, even these two pillars for witness now. These two pillars that represent, here, 18 cubits now. 18 is bondage. This would be the sign of the bondage, these witnesses of the bondage, which God has caused. Even these two great witnesses of bondage, he's delivered up cubits. This is that which is measured out. And a capital of brass was upon it. The height of the capital was 3 cubits, because, see, it is completely measured out. The top of it, the capital, even the capital of brass, this cold judgment that's even fell upon it. The network of pomegranates upon the capital round about, and these pomegranates, I've told you now, these pomegranates represent that fruit that was actually forbidden. This, Ramon, this is the fruit that God said you shall not partake of. This is what that represents. And the brass, this cold darkness, because that's what it all represents. Now witness this, because this is it. Measured out. The king of Babylon has come. This king of confusion has come, and he's carried them away. 18. And the captain of the guard took Seraiah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. Now, the 3 complete this now. He takes Seraiah, these strengthened of God, these then strengthened, this actually those that have the ability to strengthen, and Zephaniah, this hidden and stored treasure of God. He's the second priest. Now witness these second, even this division. And these 3 keepers of the door. 19. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that saw the king's face, who were found in the city, and the scribe of the captain of the host, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. So he's going around, he's burning all the houses and stuff, all the great houses and all the rich places and everything that's any good. He's carrying it off and sacking it up, breaking it in pieces. And he's going around gathering up all the people that are left over. And we see that he's already got these 5 people. And now he's going to gather up an officer that was set over these men of war. And these 5 men, now there's grace for man. And this officer that he picks up, this one who is sterile, that was over the men of war, this officer, because he has been made that way. And the scribe would be the one who would record all these things, and we see it's been well recorded. And the captain of the host, who would muster all the people, this person who was in charge of getting all the people together, who knew where everybody was, and these 60 people, now these 60, because there's complete redemption now here in these numbers that God is providing for you. He gathers all these people up, Nebuzaradan does, and Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon, to Rivlah. So now all these people were gathered up. These were the remnant, see, that was remaining in the city that he could find when he burned the place, and he took them to the king of Babylon. He takes them up to Rivlah, even this fruitful place, to the king of confusion. 21. And the king of Babylon smote them and put them to death at Rivlah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away captive out of his land. And this would be those that would represent this final taking away, this final captivity, even these that were delivered up to the king of Babylon. And he slays them, he kills them in Rivlah, this fruitful place, in the land of Hamath. And we remember Hamath. It is that land where the walls are joined together to create this enclosure, even this place of Babylon, because that's what Babylon represents. God used Egypt in the first captivity. Now God's going to use Babylon in this captivity. Even this great example of the end time. And as for the people that were left in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, governor. And we remember these were the poorest of the land. These that was so poor they couldn't even pay attention. He had left them, and he sets Gedaliah over them. Gedaliah was the magnified of God. He's this one that's magnified of God. And he is the son of Ahikam, and that is my brother rises. And he, the son of Shaphan. Shaphan is this burrower, this one who's digging. 23. Now when all the captains of the forces, they and their men, heard the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, they came to Gedaliah to Mizpah, even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumath, the Netophathite, and Jaazaniah, son of the Maacathite, they and their men. So the king of Babylon has set up Gedaliah, this magnified one of God, over, and he has got these, and everybody's heard about it, and they've come to him there in Mizpah, this watchtower. Even Ishmael's come, and Ishmael means to perceive the mighty one, or to perceive him, to be able to understand it, or to almost see. He's the son of Nethaniah. Nethaniah, we know, is the given of God. He's the one that is given of God. And Johanan has come with him. And Johanan is God has pity. And he's the son of Kaiah. And Kaiah is the bald. And we know the bald means that it doesn't have no glory. There's no covering provided for him. And Seraiah, the son of Tanhamath, and Seraiah is this in strengthen of God, or those that can strengthen. And he's the son of Tanhamath, the consolation of women, or the way a woman would console with this tenderness and this and loving kindness now. And the Netophathite. So this Netophathite means this dropping down like dew, even this prophecy that falls down. So this is that which subtly worketh its way in. And Yazaniah, the son of the Maacathite, they and their men, and Jazaniah means listen of God, those that listen to God, and they are the Maacathites, those that have been pressed down, or crushed, or caused to pass through the winepress. They have come now, and they've gathered themselves to Gedaliah. 24. And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not because of the servants of the Chaldeans. Dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. So Gedaliah is telling them, don't worry about these Chaldeans, these servants of the king of Babylon, who are in the land. These clod breakers, these ones that are the wisest of all. Serve the king of Babylon now. Serve him, and everything will be well with you. 25. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldeans that were with him at Mizpah. So, and we'll find this story well documented in Jeremiah, and we'll get Jeremiah get a little more detail about this. But we'll see now. Ishmael, he's come down, this one who perceives God, and he's the son of Nethaniah, this given of God, the son of Elishama, and Elishama means the mighty one is heard. Because see, God is going to punish. He's going to send his judgment now in, and 10 men with him. These 10 men, there's now this law, even the law of men, are with him, and they smote Gedaliah, that he died, this magnified of God, and the Jews and the Chaldeans that were with him in the watchtower, and all the people, 26, both small and great, and the captains of the forces arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. And we'll find this well documented in Jeremiah. They take off and they go to Egypt, this land of enclosures. All the people, small and great, captains in the forces, everyone, all of them. And we'll find there wasn't a whole lot of people left there anyway. So, and it came to pass in the 37th year, 27, of captivity of Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, in the 12th month, and on the 7th and 20th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, out of prison. So, this we have come to the 7th and 30th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin. Now, Judah has been scattered out, and even the remnant of that which was set over them has been broke down and scattered out. And we find they have fled to Egypt, and they are there. And we're going to pick that part up later on in Jeremiah. And it comes to pass now in the 37th year. Now this is the perfect dedication, this understanding, this year right here of Jehoiachin. And Jehoiachin, we remember, is that which God has established. He's the king of Judah. And now in the 12th month, the understanding now is this 12th even, as the understanding's been divided up in this lesser light. In the 7th and 20th day now, this is the perfect division has been given in this redemption. Even this lesser light, the days of this lesser light. Evil Merodach. This evil Merodach is this soldier of the king of righteousness, and he's the king of Babylon. He is the king of confusion. And in the year in the year he begins to reign, and now this circle of his reign, did he lift up the head of Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, out of prison. And we remember now, Jehoiachin is God is established. So this soldier now of this king of righteousness, he's the king of Babylon. He raises up Jehoiachin, this one who God establishes, while he's in prison now. And this is the 37th year of his captivity. And we're going to find now Ezekiel is prophesying, 28, and he spoke kindly to him and set his throne above the thrones of the kings that were in Babylon. So evil Merodach, he has raised up the head of Jehoiachin now, and over all the kings that was in Babylon. And he changes his prison garments, and he did eat bread before him continually all the days of his life. So we'll see now the king of Babylon is sustaining that which God has established. He's got him in prison, and he's sustaining him there. And 30, this is dedicated, the dedication. There was a continual allowance given to him of the king, every day a portion, all the days of his life. And there he's sustained, even to today. This, and because this is the sign of the captivity, this is the end of the book of Kings. There is no more kings. They have been taken away in captivity. God said this is what he was going to do to you and your king in the end. He said, I will take you and your king and carry you off into a land and make you there. You'll serve other gods, and we'll find you there today. You ain't going nowhere until you put the devoted thing away. God has commanded this from the beginning, and we're going to be here until we get this done. We're going to go on now to the prophets, and the prophets, we're going to start with the book of Amos. We are going to try to get the prophets in as close as order as we can, so that we can try to fit this back into the timeline, because we're only going to cover a small amount of time here in the end of all this stuff. But we'll find out now. God has a lot of anger, and these prophets have got a lot to say, because this is the great example now of even that which is to come as the wheel does go round. And we have no choice but to ride on it. Well, and we're going to find now, as we leave this place, we have behind us these piles of stones now, these truths that God has put out, and these stones that he's piled up now. And under each one of these piles of stone, there's a king. And we're going to move on to Amos, chapter 1. I will see you there.